Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome those joining us in person and those joining us online as we have our service for receiving the Shabbat. This service is called Kabbalat Shabbat because we receive the Shabbat each week like a beautiful bride, and so too our next prayer in our book, a piyut, actually, a poem from our liturgical tradition on page 10 is about that Shabbat bride, Shabbat HaMalkah. As we welcome that bride, we welcome Shabbat with light to remind us of those first days of creation, to inspire us. We welcome Suzanne Levin to kindle our Ner Shel Shabbat in honor of her father Joseph's yahrzeit. We rise, page 2 in our prayer books. Your grandfathers too. Shkoch. May their memories give you strength. Wish you strength, Suzanne. You may be seated. We think back to this service, Kabbalat Shabbat, receiving the Sabbath, and that long ago, the mystics of Sfat, they'd run out into the field so excited to greet the Sabbath, and they'd use their voices to lift themselves higher. Lechu neranena. Let us use our voices now to lift ourselves higher. Page 12 in our prayer books. You may be seated.
בתודה. נריה, נריה, לצור אישנו מזמירות נריה לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. נריה, נריה, לצור אישנו נתקדמה בנה בתודה. נריה, נריה, לצור אישנו בזמירות נריה לו. יאללה ללי ללי, יאללה ללי ללי, יאללה ללי ללי, יאללה ללי. יאללה ללי ללי, יאללה ללי ללי, יאללה ללי ללי.
We continue with Lechado to page 20 in our prayer books.
Yalla la 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 Lechado di, yalla la 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 Likrat Kala, yalla la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Nekal Bela Lechado di, yalla la 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 Likrat Kala, yalla la 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nikabela, shamor v'zachor, b'dibur echad, hishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet, v'nitchila, yai lai lai, yada la la lai l'chado di, yada la la lai likrat kala, yada la la lai pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nikabela, likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem, nesucha. Sof ma'aseh v'machashvat kat mefila, yalla lai, yalla la la lai l'chado di, yalla la la lai likrat kala, yalla la la lai pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nikabela.
Verse 5.
Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech, kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daveri, kevod Adonai, alayich nigla, yalla lai, yalla la la lai l'chado di, yalla la la lai likrat kala, yalla la la lai pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and turn to face the door.
Mo'i v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha, u'sohona, toch emunei, am segula, mo'i chala. Yalla ya la 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 la, B'nai Shabbat, B'nai Shabbat,
You may be seated as we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון וחיי, דכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמא.
Amen. And we rise for the call to the worship, page 28, the Baruch. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Arabim.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Akein Adonai Eloheinu b'shofbenu, Ukumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nisma V'nafsach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'vahem negeh yomam v'layla negeh yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir imenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta b'ham V'shivtecha b'beitecha U'leftecha b'derech U'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha U'kshartam le'ot al yadecha V'hayu totafot b'neinecha U'chtabtam al mezuzot beitecha U'v'hishavrecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liyot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
There's an old Jewish joke that describes an optimist and a pessimist sitting together. And the pessimist looks at the optimist and says, "Oy vey, all the things going on in the world, the wars, the famine, the disease, all of this, it's terrible, isn't it?" And the optimist looks back and says, "It could be worse." You know, I think that all of us know in our lives individuals who spend their time, I learned this word recently, blame spotting, finding things that are wrong with the world around them, trying to point out and indicate that, you know, if only this was done differently, then things wouldn't be that way, or if only they hadn't done that to me, then, you know, it'd be a little bit different. But that's not our tradition. Our tradition doesn't teach us to wrong spot or blame spot. Our tradition teaches us to right spot, to do what we call hakarat hatov, to try to see the good in everything and to try to be hopeful about the things that can come. And to think that as we encounter those moments of hope, we remind ourselves of the moment that our ancestors hoped for their own redemption from their own struggles, and that we too, with this hope, can surely hope to see the sea part, just as it did for them. We continue, Mi Chamocha, page 40.
bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na na, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na na, ya ba 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 bim bam. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lo nosifele, norati lo nosifele, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na, ya ba 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 bim bam. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam, ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yam ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na na, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ra 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 na na, ya ba 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 bim bam. Ve'nehemar ki badal Adonai et Yaakov, u'ge'aloni et chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Amen. We continue with Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzeitzenu, uvoenu, lechaim u'leshalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
In a moment, we'll be beginning our main prayer of our evening service, the Amidah. It starts on page 46 in our prayer books. We'll go through the first three prayers together through page 52, and then offer each one of us the opportunity to complete the prayer as we see fit. If you want to use the words of our book, they go through page 62, excuse me. Otherwise, though, the words of our own heart always work just as well. Right now, though, page 46, we rise, Adonai Sefatai Tivtach.
Adonai, Sefatai Tivtach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sefatai Tivtach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, Sefatai Tivtach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geulah livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham v'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rab lehoshia, Mahashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofei cholim, u'matir atzurim, u'mkayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, u'mido melach, melech memit u'mechayed, u'matzmiach Yeshua.
B'ne'eman atah l'chachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'ho yom yahaverucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my God, my rock and my redeemer.
We take a moment now to think of all those people that are in need of healing in our world. As a community, we bring together names from our own various circles of concern, from our families, from our circles of friends, from our workplaces, our school places, our places of learning. And we share them here. We share them knowing that even if we're not personally bringing names, we open our hearts up to hearing and imagining and feeling the presence of all of those individuals being mentioned for healing. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to being a part of this prayer and to creating a prayer together in the hope it will bring that healing that is so much needed to our world. We as a congregation this week are thinking of Yasmin Aftab, of Shay Weber Bukima, of Penny Clemens, of Tracy Godfrey, of Ronna Heller and Sally Keaton and Roberto Kreitzer, of Nathan Malter, Caleb Moses, Lois Neustadt and Tony Ricolta, as well as George Ricolta, Heather Silverman, and Shari Smith. If there are others, those joining us this evening are thinking of for healing, please feel free to share their name at this time. Then for all those mentioned and the many more that go unmentioned, we pray for full and complete healing. Refuah Shlema, as we continue with the words of the Misha Berach, page 253. The Bohemian Jewish composer Joseph Mahler said that a Jew is like a man with a short arm. He has to swim harder to reach the shore. For millennia, we've experienced discrimination and marginalization. In certain circumstances, these have led us to internalize a type of anxiety, an anxiety which oppresses us into thinking our survival, our well-being depends on the capacity that we have to blend in and to be cunning. In certain moments, this anxiety has led us to try to imitate others, but in our best moments, this anxiety has been a source of exceptionalism. It's led us to recognize, however thorough or determined or excellent we may be, we will never escape our distinction. And there's a beautiful potential in the pain of the double standard that we face. To embrace our uniqueness, in fact, becomes our greatest gift. This is a lesson easier described than internalized, though. The process of realizing our potential, it takes time, and it includes missteps. The story of the golden calf, which appears in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Ki Tisa, is fascinating in this regard. Moses had gone to meditate with God on top of the mountain, and some of the people feared that he was not coming back. They were scared, and as newly liberated slaves, not yet confident in their abilities and their self-worth, they didn't know where to turn to. Without Moses' direction, they anxiously looked around and decided to imitate other nations in making an idol, in making the golden calf, despite the fact that idol worship had already been forbidden to them. Nevertheless, the medieval Sephardic commentator and philosopher Yehuda Halevi believes that the main problem with the calf wasn't that our ancestors imitated other nations. It was that the Israelites presumptively put to form God's physical presence and thereby missed the opportunity for a greater realization of truth. Halevi writes, the Israelites had been promised that something visible would descend on them from God, which they could follow. As they prepared, the pillars of cloud and fire, when they departed from Egypt, were with them. This they pointed out and turned to it, praising it, and worshiped God in its presence. But when the presence was no longer visible before them, for 40 short days while Moses was on the mountain, they gave in to their anxiety and created an idol. Meanwhile, what of Moses? Moses, in this portion, is a model for being patient and deliberate, for pursuing values of truth and letting those be the things that elevate us. As Moses, his encounter with God comes to an end, he is told of the people's idolatry. We read the words, Vayethen Vayered, that Moses turned and descended. What exactly does it mean that Moses turned? According to Abraham ibn Ezra, another medieval Sephardic Jewish commentator, in fact, a friend of Judah Halevi, this means that Moses turned around, like a person turning this way and that, to contemplate this for his or her course of action. Herein, Moses was striving to find a way to free the people from their anxiety. Another commentator, Degel Machane Ephraim, was actually the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, who founded the modern movement of Hasidic Judaism. He suggests that when one directs all of his or her actions towards Torah, he or she rises to a higher spiritual level. However, when we turn away from God, we immediately fall from the mountain. Falls from grace are equally a part of life's journeys. Who among us does not carry with ourselves a moment of failure or a moment of disappointment, of pain, of rejection, or of anxiety? These moments are as much a part of us as the moments when we are standing up on the mountaintop. Sometimes life makes it difficult to rise above the fray and insist on our principles. When we take shortcuts or behave unscrupulously without consequences, bad behaviors become ingrained. And ultimately, these come back to haunt us. God doesn't want our idols, but God does want us to internalize Torah's principles. And there are plenty of texts from our tradition which charge us with doing exactly this. In Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Hillel teaches, when you are in a place that is evil, you must stand up and be a mensch. Expanding on this, the 19th century rabbi, Samson Raphael Hirsch, taught, we should be mensch Yisrael. We should live our lives committed to observing our faith and to being good people all the time, in private just as in public. In doing so, we can uphold the promise of Torah and the vision of God that a better world is possible if we can keep our eyes directed towards it, that we can become our own measure of greatness. In the words of our closing benediction, the Aleinu, we read, it's our duty to praise the infinite source of all and ascribe greatness to the author of creation. How do we ascribe greatness to the author of creation? I believe we do so by looking to our precepts of our Torah, by pursuing justice, and by loving our neighbors as ourselves, by striving to be mentioned and turning ourselves towards God, and by watching God wherever God is found. May we, in directing our eyes toward God and Torah, raise ourselves to a higher level of spiritual awareness. May this be God's will. Ken Yehi Ratzon. We rise as we continue into our Siyum, the concluding section of our service. Aleinu, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gdula le'oseh bereshit, shelo asanu kiboyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech mochei hamachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shemunotei shamayim beyoser haaretz, u'moshe v'karo b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'gavei meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, emet b'keinu efezulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim ima'al, ve'al ha'aretz
Tachat ein od. We join together at the top of page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo
We may be seated. We think of our loved ones now, those who have departed this earth, those whom we have lost, and those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, but remain with us to be our eternal blessing. We remember them, and as we think about them, we meditate on the meaning of their lives, on the ways that they instilled values in us and directed us towards making a better world. We as a congregation this week are in a period of Shloshim for Norma Stoller and Linda Kearns, the mother of our member Lisa Jackson and the friend of our member, the Ricolta family, respectively. We think as well of the following individuals whose yard sites occur this calendar week. They are William Aarons, Robert August, Miles H. Davidson, Esther Faber, Florence Feldman, Emma Friedman, Sylvia Golden, Pauline Gorman, Herbert H. Jacob, Maxwell R. Klugerman, Theodore Levine, Joseph Lipschutz, Abraham Masseri, Sophie Radovsky, Frank Schechter, Joseph Schechter, Ben Schadenfels, Gerald Sherman, Morris Simon, and Joseph Willens. We add as well names of anyone that has not yet been mentioned from those joining us tonight. Anyone else for Kaddish? Then according to the custom of our congregation, we rise in support and solidarity and appreciation of all those individuals whose names have been mentioned and the many more whose names go unmentioned as we recite together the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Gadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari vimru amen. Yehesh me rabba mebarach leolam ulame amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
You may be seated as we welcome co-president of our congregation, Alan Wormser, for tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Join us this Sunday, February 20th at 10:30 a.m. when the Social Action Committee presents a discussion about voting rights in Michigan. Rabbi Gutmann, Dr. Rochelle Rubin of Voters Not Politicians, and Irma Glasser of the NCJW, National Council of Jewish Women, will discuss why and how this is a Reformed Jewish issue and what's happening now. Please join us in person at Temple Kolami. On Monday, February 21st at 7 p.m., join Rabbi Gutmann for our new unique learning experience, Torah on Tap. Must be 21 and up to attend. RSVP to the office. You are also invited to join TKA Sisterhood for a Zoom discussion about reproductive rights in 2022 and beyond. On Wednesday, February 23rd at 7 p.m., join special guest speakers Rabbi Lindsay Danziger from the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism and Jarrell Wilson from Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan. RSVP to Rondi Bauer, please. Join us for our first Brotherhood Poker Night. On Wednesday, March 2nd from 7 to 9 p.m., we will be having a friendly game of Texas Hold'em with no buy-in. What's the fun in that? Snacks and drinks will be available. Donations are welcome to cover costs. RSVP to Daniel in the office. On Saturday, March 5th at 10:30, join the Ricolta family as Gregory Ricolta is called to the Torah as Bar Mitzvah. Thank you for joining us this evening, in person and online. Shabbat Shalom. Sharon, I hope you are warm.
Shkoch, sir. And I think we'll just surprise you here and say, Judy, you want to come up too, and you can help him with Kiddush and Hamotzi. We'll even guide you through the prayers. You don't have to do them on your own. We can all help. Let's rise as we turn to page 5 in our prayer books for the blessing over wine.
As we raise our cup in thanksgiving and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza b'hanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh. זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
Chaim. We can go ahead and uncover the challah as we continue with our blessing over bread. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei avon. You even get to take the challah home with you. How about that? Page 321, we conclude our service with Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'eit Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'achabrei Kiflot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Echad B'eit Sheni Lecham Shiloh Lechachmira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit Ve'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra Ve'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra Ve'hu Eli ve'chai go'ali Ve'tzor hevli ve'etzara Ve'hu nisli u'manosli Ve'nat kosi ve'yom ekra Ve'nat kosi ve'yom ekra Ve'yado Afkid ruchi ve'etishan ve'a'ira ve'im ruchi gebiati Adonai li ve'lo ira Adonai li ve'lo ira Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.